about language arts specifically for elementary school teachers.
Yep.
You want to start with the Lucy rubrics because that seems to be the big conversation.
Yep. So
Okay.
just a reminder, nothing has really changed from last year the way that we scored the writing rubrics. Just a reminder, all teachers gave the first 3 assessments in the first week of school. And they recorded those scores, and they recorded them on their own this year because we are just getting to the point where we have a system on PowerSchool for them to report those scores into PowerSchool.
And that's going to be coming probably in March or April. They should start to see in PowerSchool some preloaded assessments for them, and it's going to say, for example, argument pre, argument post, narrative pre,
Yep.
or excuse me, argument is for the older kids. I think
Yep.
for elementary it's...
Yep. Narrative, information, or opinion.
Yes.
Yep.
So those
Yep.
will be preloaded.
Yep. And so teachers will enter all of their pre-scores when that's available to put in. They'll enter those, and we are recording as a district the first 3 units for everyone.
Great.
Except for kindergarten is recording units 2, 3, and 4, just like we did last year. So nothing has changed from last year. The only thing that's
Right.
changing is the way that we are recording these scores, and we're using PowerSchool this year to record those scores.
Right, but we're still only recording a score of a 0.5 up through a 4. So when they enter it in, they're going to do their own math
That is
calculations.
different. You're correct. That is different.
So they'll do the math calculation and make the conversion. So all they have to enter is a 0.5 through a 4 for the pretest, 0.5 through a 4 for the post-test.
Yes.
And then what we're going to do for their data at the end of the school year is we will pull those numbers. So for example, if I have a class of 20 kids and my first student scored a 0.5 on the pretest for the first assessment and a 1.5 on the second one, they made a point's worth of growth. If on the next assessment the student scored a 2 and went to a 3, they made a point's worth of growth. On the third assessment, they scored a 1 and they went to a 1.5. So what the formula will do is average the growth across those 3 assessments. So a 1 point and a 1 point and a 0.5 will be averaged together. I can't do the math in my head, and that will be pulled. If that average equals at least 1, that student demonstrated growth for the year on their writing.
Yeah.
And then I go down to the next student, and the same thing will happen. Teachers don't have to do any of this math, though. The math will be done for them. Once they've entered the scores, we'll pull the scores and do the math. So if in the course of my 20 kids, 18 of them made 1 point or more worth of growth, we go to that data rubric, or the evaluation rubric that's on Google, and 65 to 79% of students showing 1 or more points worth of growth hits a 3 on the teacher evaluation rubric.
Yep.
So an 80% would have given them a score of a 4. And that's that 5% worth of their 25% of the teacher data.
5% of writing.
5% is the writing,
Yep.
and that's how those writing scores will be calculated.
Yep.
So they can have a student who didn't demonstrate a point's worth of growth because we're averaging the growth across the 3 assessments.
And across the class.
And across the class. So then I have a average score of growth for every single child, and then I just average that. If that hits the mark on the rubric of a 60, I think that's a 2. If it hits an 80%, that's the 4. If somewhere, you know what I mean? So they
Yep.
just use that rubric, but they don't have to do any of that math.
It really is a benefit, this way that we're doing it to the teacher and the whole class.
Right, because last year teachers had to hit 90% of their students demonstrating growth to get the 4.
Yeah.
They don't, and now it's 80% to
Yep.
get the 4, and that range of 3 is 65% of my kids showing 1 point or more's average worth of growth on their writing assessments. That's super fair, I think, that they can, because you can still have a student, for example, in 4th grade, who's writing at the 2nd grade level, but as long as they go from the 2nd to the 3rd grade level, they've
That's
made their
gonna be
point
a
of
point.
growth.
Yep.
It's not proficiency. They don't have to hit the grade level benchmark. The student just has to be able to demonstrate growth.
The show growth.
Right, and that's a huge difference.
It is.
So you score as a teacher. I have a student who comes in, I'm a 5th grade teacher, and my student can't hit even a 0.5 on my rubric. They get 0 points. Even and that 5th grade rubric goes down to 3rd grade. So great, use the next lowest rubric. Pull the K1-2 rubric out. Where does the student fall in that?
Right.
As long as they still make a year's worth of growth, they still get the benefit.
Right.
Because it's not proficiency, not proficiency.
There's one other clarification. We had some questions this year on do teachers need to score those first 3 units that they give the first week of school, or can they score their pre-tests before their unit? It's
Yeah.
really a teacher's choice this year. We are not putting dates in Power School. So
Right.
all 6 scores need to be in Power School. There will be an end date for that.
It'll probably be somewhere
April?
around
Middle April?
middle May even.
Yeah. Okay.
So really they could be hanging on to all those scores right now. They just have to be in Power School by the deadline for the district to be able to pull the data out.
When we release it, we haven't even
We haven't
released
even
it to
released that yet, and we
Yep.
don't know what the date is yet, but that will be coming.
Yep. Great.
Yeah.
All right, and as always, if you have questions, you can email Steph Long or Biz Ruskowski, and we're happy to ask your questions.
Actually, I do have one more question.
Yeah.
This has come up. Do I, as a classroom teacher, share my rubric with my student and or my parent so that they see what grade level they're performing?
Yep, and this is not a change either from last year, so this is nothing different. Last year, we recommended that each principal or office keep a set of K-6 rubrics in the office in a binder, and that is a way that parents could come in and look at those. So probably some of the buildings still have that. As a teacher, we're goal setting with kids this year. I would absolutely think it is very appropriate, if not necessary, to be sharing those rubrics with your kids so that they know what it is they're trying to get to and improve on. It should never be a secret or a surprise.
So is it reasonable for a teacher to develop a scale for one of the LUSI rubrics as they move through that unit?
Absolutely. I think
Okay.
that's very appropriate.
Yeah.
I know we've done some work on that at the school that I'm at this year too.
Great.
In our 4-5.
And so it's appropriate for second grade teachers. I developed a scale for narrative. You developed a scale in this opinion section about
Yep.
leads.
Yep.
Let's say I have a scale for leads. You have a scale for organization.
Right.
We
Take a
flip-flop.
look at what Common Core, how you're matching
Yep.
Common Core with it too, because that makes
Yes.
sense too. Even though these units are Common Core aligned, it's always good to kind of match it back to your standards too.
Great.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.